And we're gonna go ahead and finish off this lesson today. So thank you for being here on Friday. This assignment is going to go over how you can repeatedly add on to a string. And remember, a string is just a bunch of text. And so maybe you've used an application that's like this, where you want to kind of like create a list of things. So like if you have the iPhone, the Notes app allows you to like kind of, the Reminders app allows you to add a bunch of, different reminders as a list. And so this application is trying to do the same thing. But as you'll notice, if we run this, so this is kind of like the what's on the screen by default, feed the cats. And then I'm guessing that if I add in a different piece of information here, like go to sleep, that's something that you should remind yourself to do, I guess. And I click remind, it adds it to the screen, but it like puts it next to the previous thing in the list. So if I continue to do that, like, I don't know, eat your vegetables. Again, it's going to add it, up against the previous text that was on there. So we're going to take a look at how this actually works and how to fix this so that it makes it more like in a list format so it's easier to read. Miss Silvis does still teach, but she only teaches math. So last year she taught AP CSP because I wasn't there, and then Mr. Lopez is with the district right now, so he's not teaching any classes right now. Okay, so let's take a look at how this code works. If I look at the first two lines here, and I see that there's two variables created. So we've got a variable called all reminders, and I'm gonna draw that as our little, our little, whatchamacallit, our baggie, right? And then the label on that baggie is gonna be all reminders. Have a big label. Here we go. And then the value inside is gonna be feed the cats. So we're gonna write that in there, feed the cats. Okay, and then on line 4, we see another variable is created called new reminder, but it's not assigned a value yet, so it's empty. So we'll just go ahead and put new reminders. Okay, so that's how it starts out. I'm actually going to reset this. Okay, and then what it does on line 7 is it sets the property of this reminder text. This is the reminder text to all reminders. And so that's why we see feed the cats. Okay, because all reminders says feed the cats, and then we set that text over there. All right, cool. Now the next part is this event handler. So on the event that we click on the reminder button, this guy right here, what it does is it sets new reminder, this variable right here, to the text that is in the reminder input. So right here. So if I, for instance, put wake up at, I don't know, 9 a.m. right there, what this will do when I trigger the event of clicking on the remind button is that it'll set new reminder to the text that's in here. So in this case, that would be wake up at 9 a.m. Wake, oh my gosh, I messed that up. Wake up at 9 a.m. Trying to write small so I can fit it. So that says wake up at 9 a.m. And then on line 15, it says all reminders is going to get what's currently in all reminders, which is feed the cats. plus what's in new reminder. Okay, so that means that we're going to join this string with this string and store it inside of all reminders. And so that means, but you'll be sleeping. How are you going to hear the reminder? That's a good point. That is a very good point. So this is going to join wake up at 9 a.m. Wake up, oh my gosh, can I fit it? At 9 a.m. There, you get the idea. Wake up at 9 a.m. And so then it sets the property of the reminder text to all reminders, and that's why we see, oops, that's why we see the text get joined up here. Okay, so feed the cats, wake up at 9 a.m. And again, notice that, you know, it's joined together such that it's like squished together. And that's just because of the way that it was written here. We're literally just joining the two strings, all reminders and new reminder. So what we want to do is we want to edit this code so that we don't get it squished together. We actually have each thing on a new line, like in a list. So if you remember from last class, we learned about how to make a new line with this special character, this \n. So what we want to do is we want to edit line 15. So I'm going to go ahead and go into text mode. I want to edit this line so that before I add my new reminder, I will actually want to add a new line first. So I'm going to put that new line character before my new reminder. So this will take whatever's in all reminders, add a new line, and then add the new reminder. So if I reset this and I put in that reminder of wake up at 9 a.m. Oops, 9 a.m. That's too early. Now I can see that it gets put on a new line, more like a list. And so if I continue doing that, like eat your vegetables, it'll always add it on a new line because of this right here. What's after new line? This right here. So whatever gets added as a new reminder gets put after the new line. And then since a new line is a string character, that's why it gets put into quotes here. I hope that answers your question. Okay. So there's another thing we want to do to make this program a little bit better. Notice how every time we enter in a new reminder and click, our reminder stays here. And so you kind of have to like delete it first in order to add something different. We want to change this so that it actually clears out the text box after we click the button. Okay, so how the heck do we do that? Well, we know getText gets the text from this field. Yeah, I can zoom in. Is that better? Let me expand this a little bit different so it's not so on top. Hopefully that's better. To go the opposite. So how do, oh, I see what you mean. So that other slash is just a different key. It's right above your enter key. So this one right here is right above your enter or your return key. That's okay, it's not commonly used. I mean, it's commonly used in programming, but other than that, not really used besides that. Okay, so where was I? We want to make it so that we clear this every time we hit the remind button, right? So if I say zoom in so students can see, I want this to go away when I hit remind, when I already submit it. So instead of using getText to actually get this text, I want to use setText to reset this to be empty. Okay, so I'm going to say set text. And what I want to put inside of my set text is I want to put the ID of this text field here. And I know that the ID, if I reset this and I mouse over it, it's called, you can barely see it, but it's reminder input. So in here, in quotes, I'm going to put reminder input as the ID of the element I want to modify. And then I'm going to put a comma, and what comes next is the text I want to put in here. And remember, I want to clear it out. I want nothing to be in there. So the text I want is just the empty string. So 2 quotes with nothing in it. So what that's going to do is once I hit the remind button and I go ahead and add my new item to the list, this text box is going to be cleared out. So let's demonstrate what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and put that wake up at 9 a.m. reminder, 9 a.m. I'm going to hit remind. It's going to go onto the screen here, but then this is going to clear out as well. Okay, so see how that happened. And then I can do one more, eat your vegetables. Again, it gets joined onto the screen here after a new line, and then we see that text being cleared as well. Okay, so that is how we improved the application. So we used the counter pattern, but with strings in order to continuously add on to our string, but then using the new line character to make sure that it gets put in like a list format. And then we use the set text function to clear the text out of this text input element. All right, so those are two new things that we've done today. Let's go ahead and clear the drawings. And we're done with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and let me zoom out a little bit so I can actually see the finish button here. There we go. I think that's good. Okay, so now, so there's 2 more problems left, but these have to do with what is called scope. So I'm not talking about like dirty no scope on a gun or whatever. I'm talking about like the scope as in like local versus global scope. Like how specific are you talking about? So when I talk about global scope, I mean that the variable is accessible anywhere in your code. That's what global means. It's also permanent. So once you declare that variable in your code, you can access it anywhere in that code, anytime, okay? If something is local, if it's a local variable, that means that you declared your variable inside of a function or an event handler. And it also means that it's only accessible from within that function or event handler, which also means that it only lives for as long as that function or event handler is running. So as we know, an event only happens in a moment, right? When we click a button, that is the event, and then it's over. So if I click this button, so look at this code. So if I click this button, this variable only lives for as long as I'm clicking the button. And so this variable pretty much just dies after the event happens. So for now, we are going to limit ourselves to what's called a global variable, which means we're declaring our variables at the top of our code and not inside of functions or event handlers. Okay, so we're declaring it at the top. And remember, when we're declaring variables, we're using this special keyword of var, V-A-R. And then we can always access those variables from inside of an event handler, but we're always declaring them out beforehand, globally. Another thing is some reminders. only use var once. You can't create the same variable twice, okay? So if you say var clicks gets 0 and then you try to say var clicks gets 0 again, you're gonna get an error. It's gonna say you've already created that. What are you doing? Another thing, create all your variables at the top of your program to keep your code organized and easier to read. And then again, create your variables outside of any on-event blocks. Because we want to keep our variables for now, we want to keep them global, not local. Okay, there's going to be a time when it's going to be appropriate to use local variables, but we're going to learn about that later. Okay, so for now, we're sticking global. All right, so we're going to see why we're going to avoid local variables, because it can lead to bugs. So we're going to actually see an example that looks pretty much just like this in the next problem here. Okay, so here is a program that has a scope bug because the programmer accidentally used a local variable. So let me show blocks here. So we're going to read this yellow warning. It says, clicks is defined, but it's not called in your program. That means the program's not using this variable at all. It looks like you are inside this event handler, but what do you notice? What do both of these lines have? They both have that special keyword. What's that special keyword? What's that special keyword that you see in the front of both of these variables here? Yeah, VAR, which again, remember that means that you're creating a variable. And so that means that you've got clicks up here, which is global. This is global, meaning that it's permanent, it's accessible from anywhere in the program, but then you also created another variable that's only accessible within this event handler. But guess what? It's also called clicks. This one is a local variable though, only lives in this event handler. Okay, so what's gonna happen? Well, it says var clicks gets 0. Okay, so that's 0. And then when this event happens, when we click on the add one button, it says, hey, create clicks. Cool, created it, but then say clicks plus 1. But guess what? This clicks right here refers to this clicks, not this one. And it's trying to say assign clicks to whatever clicks currently is plus 1. But what value does this clicks have? Nothing. There's nothing in there. So what happens when you add 1 to nothing? You still have nothing. It's not 0, to be clear. It's not 0. It's literally just not a number at all. There's no value in there. And so let's see what actually happens when you try to run this code. Okay, so I'm going to press this plus 1 button, and again, it's going to try to evaluate whatever the heck this means. And we see this weird, funky NaN thing. So NaN means not a number. And the reason we see that is because we're trying to add 1 to a variable that hasn't gotten a value yet. And if you try to add 1 to something that doesn't have a value, you're going to get NaN. And it doesn't matter how many times I try to add 1 to it, it's always going to be not a number, okay? And so the error here is that we wanted to actually add 1 to this variable up here. But because we put this keyword here, we accidentally created a local copy of it, a completely different variable. So to fix this, we want to take out this keyword so that when we're saying clicks gets clicks plus 1, we really mean add 1 to whatever this clicks has. Okay, so we need to delete this VAR on line 8. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go into text mode to make that easier. Okay, so now I've taken out the VAR, which now means that we don't have a local copy anymore. Now, this variable actually refers to the global value. So now when we click on the add one button, it says clicks gets whatever clicks is, which is 0, plus 1. And so we should see that value become 1. Okay, so let's test it out now. Let me actually erase that not a number. So now if I run it and I click on the plus 1 button, we'll now see 1, and it'll keep working. Okay, so that's why we want to stick to global variables at this point in our learning, because we can get these weird funky things happening if we start using local variables. So we'll get to when it's appropriate to use local variables, but just not yet. For now, we just want to stick to global variables where we're creating all of our variables at the top outside of our event handlers. Okay, so that's going to be really important. All right, so let me know if there's any questions. We have one more problem to do together, and then you have your checks for understanding for homework. Okay, so in this final program, we have a program that has, look at that, it has all of the variables created at the top. Nice and neat where you can easily read them. So we've got 2 variables that tracks the dollars that were paid and the tickets that were purchased. And then we have 3 more variables that store the ticket price. So we've got an adult price for $12.50, a child price for $8.50, and a senior price for $10. What we want to do is we want to run the program to see how it works and click all 3 buttons. So if I run this and I click adult price, we can see that, I think it's running very slowly. Let me reset that. Adult price, there we go. It will add the ticket amount to the screen and how many tickets we purchased. So if I click it again, now I can see that I've bought 2 tickets for a total of $25. Right now, the child ticket button, it's like going to Hometown Buffet. Yeah, sure. Just don't go there during COVID. You'll get all you can eat COVID. So not yum. So the child ticket button and the senior ticket button don't work yet. We want to actually make those buttons work. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the code from the adult button handler to implement the child and senior button handler. You still lie about being 9? Can you still pass as being 9? Okay, so we're gonna use this code, this adult button code. So notice that this line here, you would at 12 years old. I don't think you're 12 anymore. So this line here increases the amount of tickets, right, by 1. So that's actually code that's gonna stay the same for the child and senior ticket button. And then this line right here adds the adult price to our total dollar amount. So we're gonna use something similar for that. For the child button, we're gonna wanna add the child price. For the senior ticket, we're gonna wanna use the senior price, increase it by the senior price. But then these 3 lines, these are actually gonna be the same for both the child and the senior ticket button, because all it does is it sets the text of this label, the dollars label, and it sets the text of the tickets label here, and then it plays a nice noise as well. Actually, we already have the noise in here, the play sounds. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna go into text mode. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy all of the code from the adult button, except for the play sound, because we already have that. So again, I'm just gonna copy lines 11 through 16. And if you're working with me, you can hit Control C to copy, or if you're on a Mac, it's Command C. And I'm just going to paste that into my event handler for the child button. Okay, so now I'm increasing the tickets if I click the child button. And remember, I want to add the child price here, not the adult price. So that I'm going to change. I'm going to change that to child price, right? This amount here. So child price. And then I'm going to update the dollars label. I'm going to update the tickets label and play that sound. Okay. Same thing for the senior button. I'm going to go ahead and paste that same code in. So again, increasing the ticket by 1. And now for the dollars, I want to increase by the senior price right here instead of the adult price. But everything else is the same. I want to update my dollars label. I want to update my tickets label and play a sound. You deleted everything. Control Z will undo. Or you can go to version history and restore. Okay, so if I now reset this, the child ticket will work, $8.50. The senior ticket will also work, and the adult still works as well. So now it keeps track of how many tickets I've purchased and the running total based on the price of each type of ticket. Cool. All right. So let me know if there's any questions about what was covered. I will post the video after class in case you want to review. Only one thing changes. Yes, for the code, yeah, just the price. Everything else is the same. We still want to increase the ticket amount by 1. We still want to set the text properties, and we still want to play the sound. So the only difference is how much we're actually increasing dollars by. The adult price, the child price, or the senior price. This is true. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click finish. And let's talk about the homework, which you can do very, very quickly. It's just these 2 check for understanding questions. And as always, I just want you to answer them. I just want you to answer them. You don't have to be correct. I just want you to try, and then we will go over these when we come back on Monday. So there's a multiple choice here, and then there is, oh, they're both multiple choice. So they're going to be really, really quick to do. I thought there was a free response. So I'll go ahead and put that link in the chat. It's also on Google Classroom. So just 12 and 13 for you to do for homework. Again, we will go over these Monday. And then just some quick reminders. If you weren't here at the beginning of class, I kind of talked about the survey. This was the same survey that I gave you the link to back when I said if anyone needs financial assistance for AP tests to take the survey. But now I would like everyone. So if you haven't taken the survey, please take it. I'll put the link in the chat because they're going to use this survey to pull names that they will give free laptops to students that they it's basically like a raffle. Okay, so it's the mayor of National City is purchasing some amount of laptops. I'm not sure what type of laptop or how many exactly. They need to decide still, I guess. But like I'm saying, free is free, so you may as well take the survey, enter your name to potentially get one. The other thing is next week is what? Is CS Education Week, right? You're probably tired of hearing me talk about it. But we've planned, a whole week of events. And again, I'm giving you extra credit for coming. I'm giving you extra credit for inviting other people that will attend. And for some of the events, I'm giving you even more extra credit for showing me what you created during the workshop. And so I wanted to kind of emphasize that you have to register for these events to get the Zoom link. So on the website here, which is accessible from our school website, there are buttons that allow you to register. And on the registration page, if you are trying to recruit friends to come, they can enter your name on the registration page here as the referral so that you can get those extra 5 points. So please, please, please tell your friends about the events. We've worked really hard to organize them, so we would like to have a really good turnout. I also created this ad that is going to run in the school news next week. Let me stop